on.
Don't talk.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Vinny Costa, the editor of Street Muscle Magazine. I'm your host, and my co.
And we're losing Vinny already. Vinny. And we already lost Vinny.
He's back.
What's going on? Hey, what's going on, Greg? So for those of you who missed the intro, I'm Vinny Costa, editor of Street Muscle Magazine, and I'm co-hosting with Greg Acosta, editor of EngineLabs.
He tries to say the name of Street Muscle Magazine.
He's working.
You're watching episode 1 of RodCAST Live, and that's the all-encompassing car show where we talk about everything automotive. Today's an exciting episode because we're going to have several guests on, all from our editor core over here at Power Auto Media. We're going to be bringing them on one at a time, kind of introducing the usual suspects. These are going to be guys who have recurring roles on the show. In the future, we're going to have different industry people, whether that be a manufacturer, a racer, a builder, or just an industry personality. But today, we're going to meet those usual suspects, like I said. And Greg, let's start with you, and let's introduce ourselves and get to know our audience a little bit.
All right. Well, my name is Greg Acosta. I've been the editor of EngineLabs for about 2 years, and been in the industry. This is my 16th year. I don't know why we're getting that weird feedback, but like I said, I've been in the industry for 16 years. I've always been a tech dude, always. If it works, I want to know how, and I want to be able to tell other people how. That's been my core competency ever since I started, and that's actually what got me into it. When I very first time I ever met James, I didn't even know who James was. James Lawrence, the owner of Power Auto Media and the chairman of the board of directors of SEMA. No idea who he was. We were just talking. We were doing some article on an SVT Focus, and I happened to be a Focus road racer at the time, and we talked for like hours at Irwindale, and next thing I know, I got a message from Paul and was like, "We need to interview this dude." And so that got me a job, and I haven't left since.
There you go, man. And now you are our resident engine guru. I know you say that you're not the engine guru, so we call you the baby guru. But yeah, man, you're our man in the field who can tear apart an engine and put it back together and tell us how and why things work. It's fantastic, man. I love working with you, and I'm excited for this new venture. I guess we should talk a little bit about how and why we started the show. And I'll touch on that. I was talking to our content director, who we're going to have on in a little bit, editorial director, Shawn Brereton. And we were kind of brainstorming some ways to reach our audience in a way that we weren't currently tapping into. And one day on my way to work, I was listening to a podcast like I do. And I thought to myself, man, we have a meeting of the minds every week. All the editors get together and we discuss different ideas and current events in the industry and topics that we have going on with each one of our magazines. And I thought, if someone just hit record, that would make a great show. They usually kind of go off the rails at some point or another, and then we all have a really good time. And so I figure, why not involve our audience in that? And so here we are, and I'm really excited about it, man.
Yeah, it's a really cool idea. Especially, I'm actually looking forward to the not so scripted going off the rails things, because those are the most fun meetings. So I promise I won't push them off the rail, but that's what I look forward to.
Everybody in the building and outside of the building, I know you're working remotely, but everybody in the building and outside of the building, we all have individual personalities, and I kind of think they fit with our titles, and I'd like to illustrate that and kind of be involved with our audience, like I said.
Yeah.
And Greg, you went over a little bit about your history, and I guess that leaves me. I've been at the helm of Street Muscle for a couple years now, doing really well ever since I came on. Having a lot of fun, going to shows.
And we lost Vinny again.
He'll come back.
Yeah, he's struggling with the office Wi-Fi, because I believe everybody and their brother is on at lunch right now.
And
there he's
and
back.
yeah. So I was just saying that before this, I had a stint in the military, and then I worked in the private security sector for a little while. And then I worked for the Department of Public Safety back home. And while I was doing that, I was blogging a little bit and working on my master's in marketing. And so when I finished that up, I started looking for what came next. And the only thing I really liked about business school was writing and the creative aspect of marketing. And so
I don't know if
what's that, Greg?
Did you stop talking or did we lose you?
No, I think the connection cut out a little bit, but I'm just getting at that, I segued that career into this career, and I'm having a lot of fun, and I'm working with you guys, and it's a fantastic adventure. So with that, I'd like to bring on our first guest, Shawn Brereton.
All right. Why is Shawn not coming up?
Ladies and gentlemen,
There he is.
Shawn Brereton.
Hey guys, how's it
What's
going?
going on, Shawn? How are you, man?
All right.
Cool, man. Cool. So you can kind of tell the format already. Greg and I introduced ourselves. Like I said, we're going to be going through the usual suspects, people who are going to have recurring roles in the show, i.e. you. So why don't you tell our audience a little bit about yourself, and we'll get this conversation rolling, man.
Yeah, I'm kind of like you. I didn't really start out in this industry. I was an IT auditor for many years, but been a car guy since I was a kid. My dad was into cars, and so therefore it just kind of came down to me. I used to race go-karts, and then got my first car when I was 16. It's a 55 Chevy, and I still have it. Bought it for $1,500 out of the Auto Trader. It had a straight six with a 3-speed on the column, and
awesome.
Oxidized baby blue. And
Greg, not to interrupt you, Shawn, but I think we have a photo of that car. Can we throw it up if you have a chance? And I'm sorry, go ahead, Shawn.
Yeah. And so worked on it, throughout the years and stuff, and a bunch of money later, it's now a really nice looking 55 Chevy.
Oh man, who is that guy right there?
Yeah, look at.
That's Shawn. So what time frame was this?
This was early 90s, probably 90, 91 at Street Machine Nationals in Des Moines, Illinois.
Look at that young guy go, man. Those jean shorts are working for you.
Actually, I could tell you now that I think about it, that's probably 1994, because that is when I painted the car. The engine is a 350 with a 671 supercharger that was built by RHS back when they did crate motors. And that was put in 1992. And then it was painted that yellow, teal, and purple. You don't see the purple, actually. The purple's on the back.
I love it. I know you and I have talked about this before, and you say it with a regretting tone that you didn't like that paint job, but I love it. I love everything about that car right there, man. It's so good.
I was gonna say that's all you right there with center lines on it, and
exactly. The car looks a little bit different now, especially because you got. I mean, that thing was set up to do a little bit of drag racing back then, right? It wasn't meant to go around a corner. Yeah,
I street raced it pretty much every Friday, Saturday night. I was out street racing or getting a drag strip every now and then. And then I finally wised up and figured out, you know what, I'm going to get this car confiscated if I keep.
Yeah, but it's interesting because back then, everybody kind of starts the same, doing a little bit of street racing, stoplight to stoplight. But you've transitioned into a space where you're going around turns consistently, man, in a totally different kind of car.
Yeah, definitely. With no horsepower. The 55 can't go around corners still. I'm still working on that, and that'll probably be the next iteration of that car. It'll be able to take corners a little bit better. But I as a project car on Turnology, I have a 96 Mazda Miata that we bought for $1,000, and we've been working on it past 2 years, I guess now. So it's a full on road race car, and it's got 189,000 miles on it, and somehow it still takes a beating. But
did I miss it? Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
I was going to say it dynoed last year with 117 horsepower. So next weekend is dyno day for this year. So we'll see what it does this year.
They need to start rating Miatas in hamster power, not horsepower.
Yeah.
The numbers will be more impressive anyway.
You know, it's funny you say that because Billy Godbold and I have actually had a conversation where we talk about using different numbers just so things sound bigger and more impressive. I actually had a shirt made for him that has a whole new way to measure torque so that things are measured to like the 27th digit. It's hilarious.
Oh, wow.
But sorry, I don't mean to interrupt that.
No problem. Great. Hey, while we're on the subject, can you pull up a picture of Shawn's Miata? Yeah, Shawn, it's interesting that you now run Turnology when your background wasn't necessarily always that. All I can say is please don't ever get rid of that blower on your 55, man. I love it. Sticking out of that hood. Yeah,
it's funny, the thing is like, people call that car old school, and it kind of makes me mad because like, to me, it's not old school. I do have big wheels on it. I got 20s and 19s on it. But I always wanted a blower from, the first time I went to Street Machine Nationals. I was like, oh my God, I've got to get one of these. And seeing Scott Sullivan's Cheese Whiz 55, and I wanted my car to be that so bad. And luckily I wanted to back half the car, and luckily my father stopped me from doing that.
Oh man, yes.
So it will, in the next iteration, it will have mini tubs in it though.
Oh, that's very cool, man. So I know that you're about to start your autocross season. Is that right?
Yeah, actually, tomorrow we're doing Ronald McDonald House here in Memphis. It has a charity autocross tomorrow, so it's kind of a joint effort between NASA and SCCA Mid-South, and it's all proceeds go to charity. So we'll be out there running it and having fun with it.
Yeah, there you go. There it is, man. That's really cool. And you bought that thing for $1,000 and just got into that style of racing that you. I mean, had you had any experience before that? I know you said you raced karts when you were younger, but
no, not really. I did one time when I was probably about 18. Some friends of my dad's raced in SCCA. They raced Formula Fords, and they let me go out during a practice session out there. And I was like, oh, I got to do this one day. And I've always wanted to road race and just never had the opportunity. And now that we found this car, it was like, what the heck, let's do it, and we'll build it as a project car. So it's been a blast. I mean, it's crazy that 117 horsepower, I could have more fun in that car than this one here that's got 700, or it's pushing 520 to the wheels there. So but at the end of the drag strip, I'm doing about 108 miles an hour.
Oh, wow.
But I go through the corner at 83. So
yeah, you're cooking the whole way through. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So Shawn, where can people find out more about your trials and tribulations with your Miata?
So it is a project car, like I said, on Turnology.com, and there's a tab at the top. You can click project cars, and it's called Project Cross Time. So for autocross and time trial. So.
Yeah. Can we expect to see some coverage on your Ronald McDonald race this weekend?
I don't know if I'll do any or not. It's kind of it's just a charity autocross where you can go. So it's not like time. I mean, it will be timed, but there's no winner or loser or anything like that. So I'll probably have my camera out there for sure, and take some photos, and may have a little something up on Turnology on Monday.
Well, I don't think this is going to be the last time we talk about that car and your racing experiences, man. We do have some other guests that we want to bring on the show, though. So I hate to cut our conversation short, but for those of you who want to know more about it, check out Turnology.com. Shawn, it was great to see you, man.
Definitely. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Later. Bye. Greg, who do we got next?
Next up, we have Randy Bolig.
All right. Yeah, Randy, my man. What's going on, Randy? How are you? What's up, man?
Good. Yourself?
I'm good, man. It's good to see you.
That's good to beat the alternatives.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hey, so Randy, for our viewers who don't know the name Bolig, because there are a couple running around out there, how about we give a little background on yourself and talk about what you do and how we're all involved, and yeah, we'll get this conversation going, man.
Alrighty. Well, I'm actually the editor of ChevyHardcore.com. I've been here for going on 5 years now. I've actually been an editor of different print magazines for the last 20 years. So I guess I'm kind of the old guy in this room. You know, it all started out for me 20 years ago when I got tired of being an electronics technician. I used to work on programmable logic controls in a pharmaceutical plant. And I actually went to Walmart and bought a $250 camera kit, started taking pictures and bugging the people at Peterson until they finally called me up. So that's how this all started for me.
That's fantastic, man. Isn't that weird how, like, it seems to be most people in this industry kind of find their way to it, you know, because they're passionate about it, as opposed to like doing it to, you know, fill a financial need or something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I used to have a CDL license. I used to drive tractor trailer up and down the East Coast as well.
Yeah. Speaking of tractors, I know I'm kind of jumping ahead here, but you do a little bit of tractor racing or pulling, excuse me, right?
Yeah, antique tractor pulling. I had a couple John Deeres, and my grandson, we actually built him a Cub Cadet, and that we spend some of our weekends doing that when we're not at car shows.
Yeah, man. Well, that speaks to your personality. I know that you're at the helm of Chevy Hardcore, but you are not necessarily a quote unquote Chevy only guy. I mean, you run the gamut.
I'm a muscle car guy that just enjoys all of them.
Yeah, I hear you, man. Me too. I'm lucky enough to have a title that can cater to all of them. But man, you do fantastic work on Chevy Hardcore. What's your current project on Chevy Hardcore right now? Is it the C10?
Myself personally, yeah, I have a 79 C10 we've been working on. There's some local guys around here we've been doing a few different things with, and it's the hardest job I've ever enjoyed. It's enjoyable working on this stuff. Yeah,
man. I agree. You know, it can be very stressful, but at the end of the day, I always end up saying, like, you know what, this is the best job I ever had, man, and we're lucky to do it.
Yes.
What have you done so far to the C10 since you brought it on as a project car, and what are your future plans for it?
Well, I hauled it home on the back of the car trailer. It wasn't even a running truck when I got it. It was together, but it had a rusted out set of 22-inch wheels that really didn't fit the truck.
Oh, God.
Oh, yeah, it was nasty. It had the original motor, transmission, rear end, and all that stuff in it. So I brought it home, and first thing I did was made it so I could drive it. You know, put a nice coat of paint on it, and we ended up doing the interior over, putting all new. It's kind of a factory look, but it's not factory. Dakota digital gauges, Flaming River steering column, tilt column, and you got Bluetooth stereo in it and all that kind of stuff now. And so we just recently put a Moser 12-bolt rear end in it with 373 gears and a TCI Street Fighter transmission with a 700 R4. So the overdrive really helps with the 73 gears and the Sniper EFI on the stock engine. But I'm thinking we might be looking like an LS swap or maybe even an LT. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah.
LT or nothing, man. LT or nothing.
LT4, supercharged LT4 would be kind of cool in this truck.
Okay, now we're talking. Well, I mean, dude, C10s are hot right now. They're the hottest thing.
Definitely, yes.
For the past 3, 4, 5 years, the C10 market has just been skyrocketing.
Yes.
And I think yours is really cool because it's a little bit of a departure from a lot of the C10s that we see. We see them, slammed and like wild style paint jobs. And
like Shawn was saying, mine is basically kind of old school. You know, it's got the Corvette style rallies on. It's got a little bit of a rake to it, and it's just
it looks like a truck that maybe a young guy would have, like an old farm truck that he wants to turn into like his street machine, and I really like it for that. When
I was in high school, this is the kind of truck you saw in every high school parking lot. You know, I grew up in rural Pennsylvania, so everybody had trucks.
Well, so you grew up in Pennsylvania, but you're currently in Florida, right?
Correct.
And where did you find that truck?
It was in Florida here, about an hour and a half from my place.
Okay, very cool. But like I was alluding to before, that's not your only project. That's not your only baby in the garage. You have quite a few others. And I'm very partial to them because they happen to be some nasty Mopars. Tell us about those too, Randy.
Well, unlike Shawn, I'm not one of those guys that turns into corners. I like going straight lines. So one of them's a 67 Valiant, 4-speed car, 410 gear, Moser fabricated rear end, tonal ram, solid lifter motor. That car runs 1180s now. I've slowed it down. I used to have a small block stroker, and it ran on E85, and that was a 1080 car with that. But that's gone undone. I'm having more fun driving it on the street with an 1190 car. It's a blast to drive.
What did that one start out as? It had a 6 in it, right?
Oh, good Lord, yeah, 6 with a 3-speed on the column.
Oh,
I
goodness.
bought it sitting in the weeds behind the guy's garage in his house. I had to replace the floors from the firewall all the way back to the rear bumper, but the rest of the car was in really nice shape.
That's fantastic, man. And but that's not the first Mopar you've owned. You've had quite a few
Actually,
more.
that is the first Mopar I've owned.
Really? I thought you had a B.
You got the 40 Plymouth Street Rod.
I thought you had a Super B for a little while back in the day.
I got that after the Valiant.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
That was later.
Yeah.
I actually owned a 40 Plymouth Street Rod that I street raced beforehand.
Very cool. Very
So
cool. I never took you for a street rodder, man.
But then after that, then my wife bought her Dart Sport. That's actually a 346 pack 4-speed car with a 410 gear. And the Super B, that was a 70 Super B. We actually that was a whole Restomod type thing. There was no key to start the car. Everything was computerized and push button start and ladder bar suspension. When we got done building the engine, we dynoed it to speed of motive, and it made 1,000 horsepower to crankshaft.
Oh, man, that's insane.
That was one to get me in trouble.
Well, I don't want to pigeonhole you, Randy, but you do run ChevyHardcore, and so I kind of want to pick your brain on something. Where do you see the trends going right now for your title? It's an all-encompassing title.
There's no doubt about it. Trucks are just taking over. It went with the square bodies to begin with, and now they're getting into the OBS style trucks.
Yep.
Everybody's building suspensions for them. They're building restoration parts for them. It's a big deal because the Camaros, the Chevelles, and the Impalas are great cars, but the people have them done already. Most of them are found, and they're already done. Guys can't afford that. The young kids that want to get into the hobby, they're finding trucks and the later model, the G-body cars and that kind of stuff that's easier to get a hold of for less money. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. You left out Monte Carlos, though. I won't hold that against you.
Sorry. Yeah, I know. I actually had a 72 Monte Carlo years ago in high school. So, Vinny, I know you still have one of those. Yeah,
I love that car. And they're kind of like the unloved stepchild of the Chevy stable. But yeah, man, I totally agree with you. We just got back from MPMC. That's the conference where we get to meet with a lot of our advertisers and people in the industry. And OBS trucks are the next thing. It's going to be and F100s. But I really appreciate your take on that, Randy. Like I was telling Shawn, I hate to cut you short, and I want to continue this conversation, and we can do so in another episode. But for now, I got to say goodbye because we got other guests that we got to get to, and we can't keep everyone on forever. So how about I take a rain check and we continue this conversation later? Is that cool?
You got it, man. Anytime.
All right. Thanks, Randy. See you later, brother.
Later.
Greg.
All right. Next up, we have Dave Crookshank.
Oh, TGC, the great Crookshank. Bring him on.
2, 1. Hey, everybody.
What's going on? How are you, Dave?
Oh, just listening to the banter.
Yeah, man. It's so good to see you. I haven't seen you in so long, since last weekend. Yeah, man.
What's up?
Not much, man. We're doing this new web show, and we're meeting with the usual suspects, people who are going to have recurring roles on the show, you being one of them. And right now, we're just taking some time to introduce ourselves to our audience. And I'm glad to have you here, man. So tell us a little bit about yourself, how you came to work at Power Auto Media with the rest of us, and what you got going on.
Well, I have been working for Power Auto Media in one form or another since November of 2011. I don't know if you knew that, but it's pushing 10 years. I started as a freelancer. I'm originally from Seattle, and I answered an ad on Street Muscle magazine. It said, "Would you like to write for us?" And I said, yes, I would. And that led me to being chosen for the editor of Corvette Online in 2016, and then I took over Rod Authority in 2018. So I'm currently the editor of Rod Authority, and it was nice to take over Rod Authority, is because as the Corvette guy, you weren't really allowed to like anything else, kind of like what you were talking about before. So I had a 76 Ford Thunderbird that I brought down from Seattle, and everybody at the office just went crazy. They said, "What are you doing with that car? What are you doing with the Ford?" And I said, "Well, I said I like all kinds of cars." So anyways, that's been a nice part about Rod Authority is I've been able to really, it's a very broad swath of the hobby, and I like rods, I like customs, I like SoCal customs, I like 50s, 60s, 70s cars. And at this particular point in the history of the automobile, I think it's really important for me, and what I'm trying to do is to educate people about hot rods and custom cars, because a lot of people, well, we're at the twilight of the internal combustion engine. As much as nobody wants to talk about that, we're there.
Engine labs, not motor labs.
So one of the things that I have to do, and that we all have to do at Power Auto Media, is educate people and keep the hobby alive. And so that's one of my, that's one of the things that I'm doing with Rod Authority is I never assume anybody knows what I'm talking about. I try to keep it, a lot of stuff at the 101 level, so I can educate younger people who, like they might not know what Arden heads are. They might not know what what an Eaton blower is. They might not know that. So I try to include some of that stuff, and I think it's really our job at this point in the game, especially when we have these bully pulpits in our magazines, to educate people. So that's kind of what I'm about. I just got back from Grand National Roadster Show, and the hobby is alive and well. I might add, the hobby is alive and well. The Grand National Roadster Show is a big, big, big success. And it was, the pulse is very strong on the hot rod hobby right now.
Certainly, man.
So
I was there with you for a couple of days. Yeah. And it was fantastic being there with you. You and I, we always have great conversations. We bond on everything, whether that's music, pop culture, cars. I can talk to you for a really long time, Dave, and I really appreciate you being on the show. Your list of accolades at the helm of Corvette Online and Rod Authority is lengthy. And so, now that you're running Rod Authority, it was fantastic to see you in your element at the Grand National Roadster Show. Just, gathering coverage, talking to the people on your live videos on the Rod Authority Facebook. It's really cool to see you engage people. And I guess my next question is, you touched on something that, the hobby is alive and well. What was the most exciting thing that you saw at the Grand National Roadster Show, since that's what we're talking about? And where do you see rods going in the immediate future?
Well, first of all, it's just very robust right now. There are so many talented people building cars. My God, such talent. And, there's a lot in Southern California. There's a lot in Northern California, but there's a lot of really great builders all over the country. And the other thing too, is right now, there's never been a better time to build a rod. You can, or a resto mod. There's so much great off-the-shelf parts. You could argue that building a rod now is basically final assembly of really great parts. An Art Morrison chassis, a Chevrolet Performance V8, Willwood brakes, a Flaming River steering column, or whatever it might be. And that's the thing, they used to say that writing a country music song was really hard because you had 2.5 minutes to get your point across, and it's already been done. So even though you can get a lot of great components, to make a street rod unique and very, very cool is still very hard. And it's all been done essentially. There was a couple of breaths of fresh air at GNRS. One was a 57 Lincoln Continental Mark II called Cashmere that was just a killer. There was a 1936 Willys truck that was built by Tin Man's Garage, won the Sloniker Award, the Alan Mary Sloniker Award, which those are the people that started the Grand National Roadster Show. There was a big purse this year from Fastener Company, ARP, was a $12,500 purse from to the winner of the Sloniker Award. There's also a $12,500 purse to the America's Most Beautiful Roadster Award, which was won by the Kugel Muroc 32 Roadster. So it's really great that ARP is participating in it and that they're sponsoring this huge event. It's the Academy Awards of hot rodding. It's basically what GNRS is, and it's the best of the best. Very, very hip. So I would say that my biggest takeaway is the hobby's healthy. There's a lot of really great talent, and all we have to do is keep bringing the young people in and keep showing them what's cool, because they don't see it on the street anymore.
So Dave, I got to
Yeah.
ask you, because I didn't ask you directly, but you kind of danced around it. What was your favorite from the show?
Boy, that's a tough one.
I know. I know you don't want to. I got you.
No, I would say for me I'm going to say two. There was two cars that really knocked me out. The 57 Lincoln Continental Mark II. Go to rodauthority.com and look at Gander at the Amber. That's a false rhyme, by the way, but we'll go into that later when we talk about songwriting and rhymes. But it's there. And also there is a 55 Ford Crown Vic wagon that was just a killer. And they were right next to each other in the hall there with all the Slonaker cars. So I would say, I'm a mid-50s Ford guy. I like T-Birds. I like, Crown Vic. I love Mercs. I love all of it. So, it was, if you're a Ford fan, those two cars were so fresh and so cool. The Continental, especially, that was built by Havasu Speed, was who built that car.
Okay.
Havasu Speed built the 57 Lincoln Continental.
Well, Dave, you said it, man. I mean, they're bringing their best. There's no better time to be a builder, and they were showcasing it this past weekend. And everybody can find out more about the show and your coverage of the show on rodauthority.com. And if you want,
it's all up there right now. Yeah, it's all real current. So if you want to see those cars, if you want to see who won the Amber Award, who won the Slonaker Award, you can go to rodauthority.com.
Thank you, Dave.
And check it out.
Yeah, I don't want to cut you off just yet. We're going to have you on the show again, where we can dive more deeply into these subjects and really get into the nitty gritty. But thank you so much for coming on the show, Dave. And,
you're welcome. Thanks for having me on, you guys.
We'll talk to you soon, brother.
Okay, peace.
All right, and up next we have Dave Pankew from Turnology, who has the best background of anyone else. And I'm going to make you full size here, Dave, just because, I mean, a lot of our viewers are not going to recognize what's over his shoulder.
Oh, wow.
But that's an R32 GTR. I mean, that's a Skyline. That is something. Yeah, right there. That is something that as a child I grew up, in awe of. And I mean, yeah, there it is. So he wins Best Background Award today.
Well, I'm primarily a domestic guy, but those are impressive, Dave. Thank you so much for doing the show today, man. We really appreciate you having you on. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great, and welcome to the Turnology corner of the RodCast. Yeah, thanks for the props on the backdrop. I figure the garage was probably cleaner than my house, so
I think that's the case for a lot of us. Yeah,
less incriminating as well. I figured in here it's everybody's gonna jive with what's in the background. So
well, it's funny because it almost looks like a fake background, but that's really your garage, and that's pretty cool.
I'm green screened right now. I'm really at the laundromat or something.
No, that's fantastic.
Yeah, but I wanted to take it seriously and put on some pants today and everything, for the podcast. So hopefully I don't have to stand up at any point,
Yeah, we appreciate it, Dave. For our viewers and listeners who aren't as familiar with the space as we are, we're just taking a moment to introduce ourselves. And you've had a lengthy career in the industry, so if you don't mind just saying a few words about yourself and your career.
Sure. Yeah, I didn't start off in journalism or communications. Academically, I had a degree in architecture. I always wanted to design cars. That was kind of my big deal. I had the tech, I had the artistic abilities, but I got swayed into architecture, so I got a degree in that. Did that for a few years, but cars were always my passion. So that's what I was working for, to afford parts and mods for my cars. To tune them out and then do that after work and not really do anything work related after work. And then I got an opportunity later on in the early 2000s when the sort of the sport compact car and tuner culture really kind of stormed onto the scene. there was a magazine that that a contact had started up, and they said, "Hey, why don't you come out to this event? We know you know photography, cars. You can kind of string some sentences together, inject a little humor and some entertainment." And yeah, the rest is history. I ended up being the editor-in-chief of that magazine later on. It was a magazine called Modified Magazine, and we also did Modified Luxury and Exotics, which that sort of opened up the world to Ferraris, Lambos, Koenigsegg's, Paganis, all those really crazy high-end cars. Got a chance to see, feel, touch, and yes, drive some of them. So that was, certainly like life-changing opportunity. From there, I worked at IndyCar for a year. I was doing some marketing for IndyCar in Toronto on the annual race there. I did a stint at Performance Auto and Sound magazine, which also published a racing magazine called PRN Mag. And then I went more mainstream after that. I decided to hop on board with Autoblog.com.
Okay.
Pretty large outlet, but it was decidedly more mass market and a little bit less enthusiast. But it opened a lot of doors. You go on car launches and they put you up at 5-star hotels and they pump you full of caviar and champagne. So you're supposed to say nice things about the cars, that kind of world, right? So
yeah, it's sometimes people try and ply you, but that's cool, man. Yeah. So what brought you to us?
Well, I was a contact. I mean, I knew about the company. I believe I had met James while we were friends on LinkedIn. I knew a couple of the players involved, but aside from Turnology, a lot of the other channels weren't really my forte. I'll get into that in a little bit. I mean, it's not like I haven't owned a huge variety of cars, but so I knew a couple of the players, and one of them was working on Turnology, and we started talking, and I said, hey, I wouldn't mind checking out what you have to offer. I'm coming out of the mass market. I'm coming out of Autoblog and Motor1.com and Motorsport.com, and I wanted to do something a little bit more enthusiast based and less newsy, less mass market kind of thing.
Gotcha.
So ended up here, working primarily on Turnology, which is all about road racing, circuit racing, time attack, autocross, not too high level stuff, but stuff that you can really dive into. Let's say you're a guy named Shawn, you got $1,000, you want a Miata.
Yeah, exactly.
You want to do some turns, you can do that. And that Turnology would be a resource, and offering stuff on not only the events itself, but the products, the news, the updates, etc.
That's fantastic, man. We really enjoyed the direction that you're going since you've come on, and the things that you're doing on Turnology. So that's really exciting, man. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say that these two cars behind me, they're gonna be set. Well, I mean, the GTR is set up for road racing. The Supra over here is sorry, on this side. The Supra over here on this side is also going to be set up for road racing as well. But they're still very fast straight line cars. I mean, the GTR clicks off high tens in street trim. It's all wheel drive and about 650 crank horsepower. But the Supra is going to be, if you're ready for this, it should be about over 200 wheel horsepower per cylinder. So
yeah, yeah, I was waiting for that. For that.
Per cylinder. So we started building up the motor, and the internals in it. It's going to handle 600 horsepower. At the crank per cylinder. I mean, if you wanted to make that happen. So not that I have the resources, money, or patience, to get that kind of horsepower, but it should be about between 12 to 1500 once we're done tuning it out on the 85.
The storied history of the JZ variety of engine is well known. So I don't doubt that you will get there. But you touched on something a moment ago. Most of our titles, as you know, are domestic based, and you currently own a couple of imports, which fits in line with Turnology. But would you consider yourself to be an import guy? I mean, you were with Modified for a while, and now you're on Turnology, and you have imports.
No, not really. I mean, I'm old enough to have been involved in the muscle car scene. So my first car, I sent you guys a picture, but I think there was some technical difficulties, so I don't know if that ever materialized. But the first car I owned was a Jaguar E-Type Roadster.
Wow.
So that was
Okay.
kind
Yeah.
of bizarre first car for a 15-year-old kid. I didn't have a license, so so I ended up, grabbing that car first. But then from there, I sort of progressed into. I was really into 60s and 70s muscle. So I owned Plymouth Cuda 344 speed. I owned Oldsmobile. Yeah, right. I owned Oldsmobile 442 with a 350 rocket. I owned 1964 Chev Impala as well.
Very cool,
SS convertible with the 327.
Now we're talking. All right.
Yeah, right. So that was like God, that was like 80s, early 90s. Then I was kind of into trucks, so I had stuff that's probably worth some money today. Some really kind of good condition, no rust, like a 78 Ram Charger, Dodge Ram Charger.
Cool.
Yeah, with a 360 four barrel on it. I had a 78 Bronco with the 400 lifted. All the trucks were lifted and stuff. So I was sort of into that for a while.
Yeah, so it's safe to say that you like all facets of motorsports, and you're just into it for the culture, and you really love all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And as life goes on, the GTR has kind of followed me for a while, throughout the ages, because it's just been such a great car. I mean, it does everything well. It's got 4 seats. It has a trunk. It's extremely reliable. It's probably the most reliable car I've ever owned, and it just obliterates, much faster. Well, perceived to be faster cars out there, in a straight line or around a road course.
Hey, Dave, I don't mean to cut you short, but I do definitely want to take some time to talk about what you're currently doing with Turnology, and what our viewers can expect in the future. Like I said, this is going to be a continual conversation, but just for now. Yeah.
So I just got back from the Rolex 24 at Daytona. It was not my first time at Daytona, but first time covering the 24. I'd cover other endurance races before, 12 Hours of Sebring and 24 in Canada. I'd been to Spa over in Europe as well. But, Daytona was really, really something else, because, huge crowds, huge energy, and a really good mixture, I find, of people. It's almost like our little, microcosm of collection of guys. You got, Chevy and Cadillac diehards. You've got, a Mazda or diehard, or you've got a Ferrari diehard or something like that. So there's a really good kind of melting of all these different automotive cultures. So
that's fantastic.
I was up there with courtesy of Disney and Fox Home Entertainment. The Ford versus Ferrari movie just came out on digital, so they really wanted us to meet some folks. So that was another, not only was it Rolex 24, but really sort of bucket list opportunity to meet some racers, guys like Scott Pruitt, from the open wheel cars, Hurley Haywood, who has a multiple Le Mans winner and multiple Daytona winner. And then finally Roger Bailey, who actually built some of the Ford GT40s that were raced during the 1960s Le Mans. And he's like a technical consultant on the film as well. So picking their brains was just really quite mind-bending for sure.
Hey, Dave, do you currently have coverage of that up on Turnology right now? And if not, when can people expect to see it?
Yeah, we do. We didn't cover the race. We didn't have track access. We're not IMSA card holders or anything like that. So no fancy vest for me, but we got to walk around some of the paddock, no pits, but we did get an opportunity to, cover the perspective of behind the scenes, because we also met with the stunt coordinator and one of the drivers, Jeff Bucknam, who is the son of a very famous Le Mans racer who was portrayed in the movie. He was one of the co-drivers in one of the other cars, the number 5 car, I believe.
And that's live right now on Turnology?
That is live on Turnology. Yeah, so definitely check it out. You know, we got some decent factoids in there, and you know, there's definitely some information about behind the scenes of how challenging it was to put a movie like that together. It's up for 4 Academy Awards as well, including Best Picture, which is really, that's groundbreaking, because I don't think there's any other car that has been nominated for Best Picture. I know in the comments below, everybody's
Yeah. Let
go,
us know.
well, in 1973, you know, Steve McQueen, I don't know. But
Well, Dave, I don't mean to cut our conversation short,
no
but
worries.
I will definitely check out that article. I look forward to reading it and getting your insight onto what your experience was like. But thank you so much for doing the show, man. And we'll be reaching out soon, and we'll have you on so we can get to know our audience even better.
Right on. Thanks, Vinny.
Thanks, Dave. Greg, what up? Not hearing you, buddy.
That would be technical. The tech guy has tech problems. That's a surprise, right?
Well, if he doesn't have them, then we will.
But I think that was our time. I think we're way over.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like this open forum. I like having the room to let people expound on ideas, and we don't have to be so rushed. But yeah, certainly, I think this is a great first episode. This is a great, intro into getting our faces out there and getting our audience to know some of the usual suspects. Like I said, man, it's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for helping me on this adventure, Greg. I look forward to every episode after this, man.
Yeah, so do I. I mean, I'm a tech guy. I'm not just car tech. I mean, this is computer tech and video tech, and it's tech. I like tech. I'm tech guy.
Yeah, man. For our audience, before we sign off, you can expect to see more episodes. We're still hashing out whether or not we're going to make this a monthly, weekly, bi-weekly show, and we'll post updates as they come down the pipe. But for now, this has been RodCAST Live. Signing off, this is Vinny Costa, editor, Street Muscle Magazine. Greg Acosta, editor of EngineLabs. Check out our website, streetmusclemag.com and enginelabs.com. We'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for tuning in.